The question at hand is, are there timeless principles that don't change, even though the best practices with digital sales and marketing will always be evolving? Hey everyone, Zach here from Impact. Welcome to Fundamentals of a They Ask You Answer website. Well, in this lesson, we're going to talk about what truly makes a They Ask You Answer website different. What makes that approach different? And 7 principles of a world-class They Ask You Answer website and user experience. As you'll soon find, these things far surpass the page layouts, the pretty graphics, the font choices. Instead, they're rooted in the fundamental truths of how today's buyer shops and makes decisions. Principle number 1 of a world-class They Ask You Answer website is having the proper homepage and messaging. So I want you to put yourself again in the shoes of a buyer. I'm going to ask you to do that a lot throughout this course, by the way. I want you to put yourself in that person's shoes. So you get to a homepage. What's the first thing that within seconds you are trying to determine about that page? Not even about the company, just what's the first thing that you're looking for immediately from that page? For many of us, it's, can this solution solve my problem? Does this meet my need? Is this worth me continuing to look into? So it's an obsession with our fears, our worries, our concerns, our problems, right? That's what we want to figure out first, because if not, we're going to go somewhere else. Notwithstanding this fact, if you look at many organizations' websites, whether they do it intentionally or not, are they talking about you and your problems and your needs? Or are they talking about themselves? What makes them awesome? What makes them world-class? What makes them the best thing since sliced bread? You might think, well, I don't know if I really see it all that much. Here's a great test, and you will start to see it a lot more. You can literally scan a homepage and look for one thing, and it'll tell you everything you need to know. How often do they say you and frame things in your perspective, so your problems, your needs, your concerns? And how often do they speak from a I perspective? So this is what we do, and we're great at this, and this is what we specialize in. Only talking about themselves. It's a common thing a lot of people do without even realizing that they're doing it. Instead, what our messaging has to be on that homepage is immediately indicating this is worth my time, this can potentially solve my problem, solve my needs, and it needs to be delivered in a narrative format. The second principle of a world-class They Ask You Answer website is obsess over honest education. What are those top 25 questions that you hear all of the time that are a sticking point for a prospect? What are those things that would keep them from buying? The things that they're worried about, the things they don't have answers to? Are we addressing those on the site, or are we again waiting until they pick up the phone and call us, send us that email, have that face-to-face? Instead, if we're obsessed over honest education, we address those questions right up front. The best time in life to eliminate a concern is before it becomes a concern. So think about, as you look at your website, as you look at each page, each product service page, each landing page, the home page, anything, your warranties page, whatever it might be, are we answering the major questions? Is it obvious? Is it right there out in front? That is how we embrace obsessing over honest education. We're not scared to answer anything. We put it right there in front of any website visitor. The third principle of a world-class They Ask You Answer website is premium education. You can think about this, by the way, in a few different ways. When we think about premium, we think these are exclusive. This is comprehensive. This is more valuable than an individual article or individual page. That's what we mean when we say premium. So think white papers, ebooks, guides, tools. These are things that, generally speaking, we ask for information on landing pages for, and this is how we build our sales funnel, right? Many websites, though, are severely lacking in this area. In fact, a lot of the white papers and the ebooks aren't really educational materials at all. They're brochures and pamphlets that are promotional and pitchy versus teaching that person how to buy, how to avoid mistakes, how to make the best buying decision, who to include in their decision, what they should know before they even start buying. Like, these are the things that we have to be obsessed over when we think about premium education. There's no limit to the amount of premium education that you should offer, but you should at least have one major guide or ebook or resource for each persona of person, or each product or each service category of products. Now, if you have 100 products, I'm not saying you need to have 100 premium pieces of education, well, you might. But there has to be, for that buyer, something that is valuable enough that I would give you my information, and therefore we can start the relationship. If we don't have the premium education, there's way too many folks who might visit your website, and they might read a lot of that content, and they might really like it, but they don't move forward because the relationship was never started. They read that blog and they said, that's helpful, and they left. Versus them coming to the site, we give them something of value to leave with. In exchange, we ask for their information. And that's what the idea of premium education is all about. Starting that relationship with great, helpful, valuable information. Principle number 4 of a world-class They Ask You Answer website is an equal mix of text and video content. So if you look at your website now and you look at those most trafficked pages, those product service pages, those articles, the homepage, what have you, things that are performing well, people might find valuable, but there's not a video. What about the folks who would prefer to watch a video about said thing? Now, I'm not going to get into video strategy in this course. There's other courses that I've made about video strategy and what you should make. But here's the deal. If we want to cater to the most amount of people, there's a significant percentage of folks who would rather learn about something in video. There's a lot of subjects that would benefit from having a visual component to it. This is just one more thing we're doing to beef up our educational abilities, to become that greatest teacher in the space. Especially if we have a piece of content that's written, that performs well, we should make a video that will perform well along with it. If you looked at your website today, and you looked across all those pages, what percentage of the content would you say is video based? If you said anything less than 50%, then we've got some work to do to get that equal mix. And I'm telling you, this will pay off in many different ways. One, you're gonna have a longer time on page, meaning when somebody watches a video, they're staying on that page. Google loves that, right? You're gonna have more opportunities to ask for someone's information. You put a form at the end of a video. That's fantastic. You're gonna have the opportunity for them to see, hear, and know you because you've made these videos. I could go on and on, but again, we're working towards having a more equal mix of text and video on our site. Principle number 5 of a world-class They Ask You Answer website is self-selection tools. Now, we have a course about self-selection tools. You can learn about the different types, but here's the major takeaway here as it relates to our website. Anywhere where our buyer has to make a choice, are we helping them narrow down the options? Whether they have to make a choice on how much money to spend, whether they have to make a choice on what content to consume, make a choice on what product to move forward with, make a choice on what day they want to meet with you. Do we have tools that make those choices easier, faster, and therefore eliminating the analysis paralysis, right? There's just too much here, there's too much information, there's too much whatever. Instead, they get the sense, because they are dictating in a large sense the buying process, the user experience for themselves. Again, we have a whole course on self-selection tools that I would advise you to watch, but this is a major principle and will continue to be a major principle of a world-class They Ask You Answer website. Principle number 6 of a world-class They Ask You Answer website is social proof. Social proof, if you don't know what that means, it's proof that has a social aspect to it. So this is allowing customers to hear from other customers, to hear from your real employees, to hear from your real partners. Whatever the case might be, one of the most common things that I hear from organizations that I've worked with personally over the past really 5 years, when you ask them what are some of the major ways that your buyer has changed, one of the major things that almost everybody says is they want to hear from our customer. They don't want to hear from us about how great we are. They don't want to hear from us about how exceptional our customer service is or how awesome this thing is or how award-winning we are. They want to hear from other people like them. They place a greater stake in their opinion than in ours. Now, the one thing that I'll say about this is that when you approach social proof, there's going to be a degree of skepticism. We all have a degree of skepticism now. If somebody is just saying nice things all the time and that's just what we're highlighting, it doesn't really tell us a whole lot. That's why I'm a huge advocate of customer journey videos, of case studies, of showing the real journey that somebody went through, so that a prospect would look at one of your customers and go, that's the story I want, or that's what I'm experiencing right now. They would identify themselves in the story. When it's just a nice thing that somebody's saying about us, there is no identification, right? In fact, it's the opposite of identifying with that person because they haven't been through the same experience. And so as you approach social proof, realize that there will be skepticism, which is an opportunity for you to highlight the real journeys, the real stories of your customers. Finally, principle 7 of a world-class they ask you answer website is site speed. Now we have deviated in terms of the principles from great communication now to something that's a bit more technical. And many times this requires help of someone who has the technical know-how to increase the speed of your site. But here's the major component of this, is that Google loves a fast site, buyers love a fast site, and nobody loves a slow site. That's the key takeaway here. So when we're approaching the website, we need to look into those technical details. We want to get a sense to how fast the website loads and do everything we can to make it faster and faster. If you're doing any sort of paid advertising, by the way, like paid search or paid social, if somebody clicks on that ad and it takes longer than 10 seconds to load up that landing page, you just wasted your money and their time by doing so. So you want to make sure those landing pages especially are very, very fast. We want everything to be fast, load fast. There are many technical experts out there that can help you with this, but this is a principle that will not change. It's going to have to be fast because remember, what our buyer says, the way that they would define a great website is that they would find what they want and find it fast.